Welcome to our first episode of the FSBL podcast. I'm Jaded Pant. I'm joined by Olivia, Robbie, and Matthew. And obviously, it is our first episode, so we might as well explain why we're making this podcast. Given the trying times we're in, we felt like our Gen Z perspective could be really useful right now, especially in the sports business community. And we hope that our podcast can bring a new voice in sports business and kind of just um, you know, share our opinions and thoughts on some of the current topics that we're going through. And I guess what we're going to start off with is kind of everyone in the podcast introducing themselves, telling where they're from, and maybe a fun fact about themselves. So if Olivia wants to go.
Oh boy. Okay. My name's Olivia. I'm from Austin, Texas. I'm now going to be a senior in high school, and I love Deshaun Watson.
Robbie.
All right, so yeah, I'm Robbie Perino from Northern California. I'm gonna be a senior like them at De La Salle High School. And an interesting fact is that I'm a diehard Bay Area sports fan. So I'm a big Niners, Warriors, Giants fans. And yes, I'm still salty about the Super Bowl, but Niners Revenge Tour 2020. So yeah, we'll be back.
And then there's Matthew, who we all call Theo, by the way. Just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, Matthew. I'm going senior year. I live right outside of Philly, and I'm big into films.
Full mainline reviews for those who don't know. I think we should just kind of get started. I think we're going to address like one of the bigger things that happened this week, minor league baseball. Obviously, the season's been canceled, and I guess I kind of wanted to hear your thoughts on the issue and like how it kind of sort of affects you if you even watch minor league baseball.
No, I think the whole baseball thing is crazy, man, to be honest. Like Manfred's just everything that's happened over the past, like what it seems like the past few weeks. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's probably like the right move because like for the first three whatever stages of minor league baseball, like how many like athletes like you can like put in jeopardy there. I think at the end of the day, it is like the right decision, but it's gonna be crazy just because like for so many teams, like if you look at like the past, like all like the last like 10 like major league champions, all of them were built like through the minor leagues. All of them were built by like the young talent. Like the Cubs had like such a young roster. The Indians, all these teams had like such young rosters that were built through the minor leagues. And to have like a whole year off of that, it's gonna hurt some of these teams. Like if you guys haven't checked out our speaker series, Ron Colangelo a few weeks ago, Detroit Tigers, he was talking about all like the young prospects that the Tigers have in the minor leagues, and it's going to be detrimental to them for sure for not being able to play for at least one season.
And it's a lot different from like Major League Baseball, considering, their revenue is more on people going to have a fun time, not to watch, on TV or on, the big players. So the fact that they aren't able to have, I don't believe they have very many like major, TV partnerships and able to broadcast it. And so that's definitely going to hurt. The fact that, their whole moneymaker is just the people that buy tickets and actually go in person. And so the fact that, Corona limits capacity for that is going to really, take a toll on it. And I wonder how long that's going to affect it.
Yeah, I mean, just speaking of,
I was just gonna say like minors is, at least in baseball, just so much more important than it is in any other league, and not having that like, and even like the precedent it sets that like you can cancel the minor league if like for these things, just like I don't know, you don't like a possible trickle effect of just these people not getting the help or like coaching they need to like help advance into the actual major teams.
Yeah, and kind of speaking on the whole baseball mess Robbie's been talking about, obviously we found out this week about sort of the Indians and Redskins scenario about, changing the name. And I guess obviously we're all diehard football fans here. And I just kind of want to hear your thoughts on sort of what you think of the name changes and like how you think it really like affects the team from maybe a business standpoint or even just in general.
No, I think what's going to hurt the most is like some of these like older Redskins fans, just because like it's a franchise that's been around for a while, and I feel like some of the newer fans might be kind of a fun thing, like new jerseys, new logo, all that fun stuff that comes with the new name. But I feel like some of these older fans, it's going to be who are a bit more complacent when it comes to this stuff. I feel like that's where, because like from marketing for teams, you have your new fans and your old fans. So I think your new fans, it might not be as hard to find just because you'll have all this like flashy new things. But your old fans, that have been fans for multiple generations, that's where I feel like the Redskins and Indians, if they do end up changing, which sounds like they most likely will, that's where I think they're gonna have their most trouble, like trying to maintain fans and attendance.
But I think although name, is important for fans, I think a lot of that is, the look and how it is. It doesn't really change what the team is. And like, if you think about, for example, I used to go to Hornets games a lot, New Orleans Hornets, and they changed to Pelicans. And although that was like a little bit hard to adjust to, and especially, Pelicans weren't the greatest team and Redskins aren't the best either at this moment, but that will be good just for revenue because everyone's going to want to buy more jerseys, especially the new fans that are about it. And so they'll get a heap of new revenue from that. And although it's going to be kind of controversial, I think this is the right step in the direction towards, equality and everything like that. And although, it's going to be controversial, in the end, they're going to be very happy they did this if it does fall through and continue on to actually changing the names.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they could change it or use this opportunity. I've even seen already on social media, on like Twitter, all these new suggestions of names for the Redskins specifically and like new logos and things like that. So this is like a big opportunity for them to get some like engagement from the community, especially now when they might not be as much because there's not like actual sports to be watching. Like this is probably, if any time, like this is a good time for them to be able to use this as a point to like improve their standing among the community.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of just wanted to give also credit to the NFL. Like, obviously, the NFL is infamously known for being no politics, for kind of staying out of that kind of stuff. But really, over the last couple of weeks, they've really taken more of a step in sort of social change. They obviously, I think they allowed kneeling for the national anthem now during their games, and I believe Roger Goodell has given a mandate both for the changing of the name Redskins and for Colin Kaepernick to enter the league again. So, I mean, it definitely shows, like, in these times, things are definitely changing. Like, perspectives that may have been different a couple of weeks ago are rapidly changing. And I guess kind of the next thing I wanted to talk about is obviously the NBA is returning soon. I know we're all excited for that, but there's definitely been some bumps. I know Ravi wrote an article about sort of the bubble, so I thought he'd be best to kind of explain what's going on.
Yeah, well, everyone go check out the article on futuresportsbusinessleaders.com. Got plenty of fire articles out there you guys need to go check out. But no, yeah, I mean it's crazy. It's what today's July 6th or no July 5th, sorry. And it's crazy. In a few weeks the NBA is set to return. And every day it seems like we're getting new cases from new teams. And well, so what my article is about, details like the whole NBA's plan of the NBA bubble. So if you guys aren't aware, the NBA is renting out Walt Disney World in Orlando. And so there's going to be 3 different hotels. And I actually didn't know this heading in. So there's 3 different hotels, and the teams are organized by their current standings heading in, like before the league was shut down. And so, yeah, so they're going to play a few like expedition games to start out. And then I think it's like 8 regular season games heading in, and then the playoffs. So, no, it's gonna be crazy. And the whole project is worth $150 million the NBA is spending. But some say it's like a lot, but at the end of the day, you're asking guys who have wife, kids to spend like months, and it could last until Game 7 in the NBA Finals. It would be October 13th, I'm pretty sure. So you could be asking guys spending from end of July all the way to mid-October, or a time away from their families, and they can't leave pretty much, because if you like want to leave for a day or two, you have to be on quarantine for I think it's 10 days. So you really have no contact from the outside world. You can't see family, your wife, or anything like that. So the NBA is providing a lot of amenities for them, and just to make their stay better during this like multiple month experience possibly.
Yeah, I know there's some concern among players that leaving like their family for that long, and especially like even eventually like the risk of bringing their family in once the playoffs start. Just kind of like there's a lot of people even opting out now to go especially also for just the social justice reasons at that point. So I think it'll be interesting to see. I got to assume, I think most people on like those top like 5 or 6 contending teams are going to kind of be committed to the like vying for a championship. But I think some of the lesser teams, there's like 22 teams there, some of those on the outside may not see any reason for them to go spend 3 months of their life just away from the rest of their family.
I think it'll definitely be interesting too, just from, like a business perspective, not just for, basketball, but the fact that, this is kind of almost a test run for everyone else to see, because there was some talk, I guess, about NFL doing something in Dallas, I believe, or something like that. And so I think it'll be definitely an interesting way to see how you can actually manage to have sports in situations like these that, don't seem able to, manage. But it definitely, in baseball, a few people are, not going to play anymore because of the worry of the virus. And so that is going to be interesting, like Matthew said about opting out too, is just how that's also going to affect, and how, with all these players dropping out, even though they're not many, how do those specific players also affect the league and its popularity as well, even if the big name players are still going.
Yeah, I think it's definitely interesting. For basketball, at least, it's not as many like big time players, I'd say. Like, I think it's I forgot who dropped out. Avery Bradley, I believe, was one. I'm sure there's
Dwight Howard hasn't like officially said he wants to do it, I think.
Yeah, but obviously there is concern, and I mean, me and Matthew combined just listed 2 Los Angeles players. There's definitely a lot of concern coming from California. That's definitely a big thing. There's a couple laws in place. I know actually if you go to Pennsylvania right now from California, you have to quarantine for 2 weeks if you even want to travel there. So I think that with the rise in cases, and especially, I think the biggest issue right now is the fact that it's not a consensus number of, like, it's not like all the states are suffering sort of right now. It's really California. It's a couple other big cities, Texas, Florida, are rising cases. So I think it's definitely tough, like morally, to kind of bring these teams together, but also just how to manage the rising cases of COVID as a sports franchise, considering the range of cases per state is so big.
But it might be good too. Like if you think about, like, for example, boarding schools, they have this whole thing where it's more of a huddle effect, like a herd effect. And so if less people have it, there's less of a chance. And, people think that there could potentially be a vaccine by November or December. So the fact that, they are going to be around each other for so long, and the chances of them leaving their campus actually might be good to see, how that might affect, with a herd effect and everything like that.
Yeah, and I think Olivia actually brought it up, sort of the NFL bubble happening. I think that the NBA is a perfect test run for that, because basketball is already – I think basketball was named the most risky sport to play because of coronavirus. I'm not sure on that. But
and no helmets too.
Yeah, no helmets, exactly. And I think it would be interesting to see if the bubble format actually is sustainable for football. I don't know if you guys really have any thoughts on that, if you think the NFL could pull off something like that.
I think they might just run into a problem at that point with like 53 players on a team. Is just such a larger amount compared to what the NBA has. Not to mention, like, at least the NBA's like been able to cut it down to 22 because they started their season already. So I could see them potentially doing something where they like have 2 separate bubbles, maybe going at the same time, and then they could figure out with like scheduling how the teams that will have to play each other. But I don't know. I think it'll be a little bit harder or more difficult for them. Hopefully they have a few months to try and figure it out. I doubt we'll see any preseason games at all this year, though.
No, they already announced. Yeah, they announced they're already cutting the preseason half to 2, but I can't even see them doing 2 just because that's just that much more risk. Is like Matthew said, 53 players, not including staff. Like, especially in football, there's like, multiple staff members for every single position. That's so many people, so many lives you could be risking.
And also from the business perspective, obviously people care about lives, but also what about the money? Like the NBA is 150 million. That whole bubble is 150 million. But a lot less players. So you have to you have to put them in rooms and stuff. You have to make sure that you have enough food and everything like that. And so that's going to be a lot more money that you're wasting when you could potentially, postpone it or do something else.
Yeah, and kind of just moving on from there, I think we all kind of had a consensus we wanted to sort of talk about this, but for sports media, obviously there's been a couple controversies over the last week, whether it was with the Ringer or Barstool Sports this week. So I was kind of hoping just gauge your guys' thoughts on the issues going between cancel culture and sports media, really.
I don't know. I think cancel culture as a whole is, it's kind of tricky. You don't want to get like too. There's a lot of exceptions to all the things that people are talking about. So I think a lot of people these days are a little quick to like assume things without kind of letting things air out and finding out more information. I think that's kind of a problem that honestly even media itself like is at fault for. Like the very people who are many times, at least now, getting like blamed for or like accused of these things and canceled are kind of at fault for what's happening, because they just kind of they take any small bit of information and blow it out of proportion and try to have all these like long form things with like there's not many like facts behind what a lot of people are saying. And I think that's kind of been like trickling down to like just regular people talking kind of like, in that sense.
Well, I think that goes kind of hand in hand with social media too. The fact that like, a lot of people post stuff, and it can be a great tool to kind of bring awareness to everything, like we said with, George Floyd, that really caught a lot of people's attention because of the attention on social media, which is a great thing. However, like some people will post stuff and they don't have any facts to support it. It's more opinion based than anything else. And so that definitely can be a stressful thing, especially with cancel cultures. If you continue to, perpetuate a certain look for someone, a lot of people aren't actually going to fact check it, and it really can affect someone regardless of what's going on.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a case by case scenario. I know for the Ringer, it was more about just hiring minorities, which like people really did back up with facts. I don't know if you guys have seen the Twitter thread. It was clearly backed up by facts that the minorities aren't as represented at the Ringer. And I just think, there's obviously two different ways to respond. I think Barstool, obviously, Dave Portnoy gave a State of the Union address. I think we all watched that once, and where his argumentation was basically that, we've been doing this for 3 decades. Something's bound to happen, which in some way is true. I think when you're there for a long time, things change rapidly in the United States. And obviously I think what he's bound to have made some mistake at some point. And I think it's worse when like you had like the blank canvas. And I think that the fact that like they're owning up to their mistakes and are going to push to, obviously have more representation in sports media is the main goal of not just cancel culture, but just for what the people hating on these two companies were going for. So I think it's definitely a good step there. And I guess something else we wanted to talk about sort of on that topic is the obviously this weekend, McCord Maker, one of the top prospects, he committed to an HBCU. And I guess that was, I know Robbie had talked about it early in the year and with another one of his articles about like the whole G League step. And I was just curious on your thoughts about the commitment and like what it may mean for college sports.
No, yeah, I think another Jade mentioned another article I wrote a few months ago. You definitely go check out. I talk about earlier in the year Isaiah Todd and Jalen Green, two of the top prospects for I'm pretty sure the class of 2021 or 2020. I could be wrong, but they decided to go straight to the G League instead of playing in college. And how the NBA is like creating a brand new G League team based in LA, which is no NBA affiliate. It's its own just for high school or college prospects. But this is just another piece to the saga that's just not looking great for college. That's just completely changing the game, McCure Maker, and then other prospects maybe following Macure Maker committing to Howard and HBCU, and then Mikey Williams, another top prospect in that class, showing support and you know, it may seem like he may be following in Maker's footsteps, going to an HBCU. And I think, you know, this definitely says something about, you know, these top schools in the NCAA, that, you know, just people are the main prospects aren't committing to you know, the Dukes, the Kentuckys, the Kansas anymore. You know, people are just going straight to either the G League or HBCUs. I think it's just giving, you know, these high school athletes a bigger platform. You know, players are going to the G League because they want to make money. You know, that G League contract right off the bat for these 18, 19-year-olds is amazing for them. You know, the HBCUs, they're trying to say something, you know, with everything going on in today's society. I think it's just giving, you know, these high school athletes a bigger platform, and, you know, for just trying to create change in just the whole NCAA and just the sports society right now.
Yeah, and something kind of building off Robbie's point, obviously, is the fact that these players do have the platform. If you had told me like 5 years ago, like I would know who McCord Maker is out of high school. Like the fact these players do have more of a platform, and that also means they have to step up to the challenge. Like I guess as Gen Z people ourselves, I think it's definitely something admirable that they're taking their not position of power, but they're using their platform to make change for the better. So I think it's definitely a very respectable move. And I think,
you continue.
I think it's definitely, it also means a lot for college basketball. Obviously, with all the new rules coming in, like the Fair Play to Pay Act and, you know, other rules about maybe like the league's going to drop the one and done rule and you can go straight out of high school. I think it's definitely these sort of initiatives where you're committing to HBCUs are definitely going to be important for the future and maybe could help save college basketball.
Yeah, I mean, like building off your point that you said about kind of like social media and things like that, a lot of the concern previously is of like going somewhere besides any of those top universities or basketball programs is just like, if you're a top prospect, you want to like make sure you stay in the eyes of all these trainers and scouts and like even the public image, to like increase your chances of getting drafted high. But I think with all of this going on with social media and increased presence online, things like that, you can go kind of wherever and still make a name for yourself and still get in front of people with highlights and things like that. And you don't just have to rely on the name or of like whatever university you're going to. So I think we may start to see a lot of people like go to more or lesser known schools or not as popular in terms of basketball.
And I think it's also like I read an article about him and it said that, he, visited all these top schools and, Kentucky was one of it. But, he was more attracted towards, feeling like he was part on campus, not just feeling like a basketball player that everyone idolized, right? And so I think that's another great thing that you see as, it's becoming, where these, really talented players go, it's more diversified, not to just the top schools like Kentucky and Duke and everything like that. So I think, the fact that they're more holistic and less about just being the player and actually being a human individual is a big part. And I think just for their well-being as well.
Yeah, definitely, Olivia. And I think this is going to be our final segment, but obviously the MLS is coming back on Wednesday. The TBT is starting up real soon. Sports is coming back, at least as normal as it's going to be. And I guess just wanted to gauge your guys' thoughts on what you thought worked during the quarantine period, what you thought didn't. And I can start off first. I can remember exactly where I was watching the Tiger Phil competition. I remember I was locked in the entire time I was there. I remember that was something really cool that I actually appreciated a lot. And even today, when I was just turned on the TV and I watched a Premier League match. It felt weird to watch, obviously, with no fans, but I thought the crowd noise was really funny. I thought it definitely kept me engaged. And I think all the soccer leagues have done a great job with broadcasting, especially to U.S. audiences during this time. So do you guys have any thoughts on like what worked, I guess, for you guys?
No, yeah, I think well, JW, you touched on it earlier. It's given all these, like high profile networks to, like, during this time to like you show stuff that, like you said, watched a full Premier League, watched, you were locked in during the match. That's not like a normal thing people can say if, the NFL and NBA were in season, And like during the match, for example, during Tiger, Phil, Peyton, and Tom Brady, it gave TNT just like so many opportunities to try out new stuff. They were able to mic up like players that who knew were this funny. For example, Justin Thomas. Justin Thomas is a famous golfer, but no one knew that he was that funny. Him and Charles Barkley the whole time were going back and forth. And it took a global pandemic for us to learn that Justin Thomas was this funny, was this guy. And so I think it's just really given these networks, ESPN, CBS, these opportunities to experiment with new things that, with the absence of fans and sports coming back, they're gonna have to get creative. They're gonna have to get creative trying to keep an audience. And I think that just really gave everyone a great opportunity to see what will work in the future.
I mean, I want to give a lot of like props. So sorry, Matt. Do you want to go?
Oh, you go.
No, well, I want to give a lot of props. Just the fact that it takes a lot of creativity to know what to do regarding that stuff and to really like get out of the box because like I've had to run an Instagram for a sports team and like that's just hard because even when you have games going on and practice going on, you don't want to keep it boring. And so the fact that they don't have games and practices or any trainings going on, there's a lot less stuff that you could traditionally do. And so the fact that they're able to bring in, because sports isn't just about the athleticism and the talent, it's also about who the person is and how to make sure that how they are an actual individual and that they're not just some sort of athlete. And that's what fans also really love about it, especially me. And so I think the fact that they're able to do that, I hope to see that more in the future, even post-pandemic.
Yeah, I'm really excited for something like the intimacy that they're going to be able to bring to a lot of these sports. I was kind of disappointed with throughout this quarantine with the lack of I was kind of expecting a large push from esports in this realm because I mean they've been able to have their competitions still going this entire time. They haven't had to stop any of that, but there has not really. I think they've kind of missed an opportunity here that they could have taken while everyone else is on a break to show like some of how interesting that is for other people.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting, Matthew. I didn't think about the whole esports realm. And I know I know ESPN tried. They put the 2K League on their networks, but I don't know. I think even for our generation, I guess we just associate it with like Twitch and YouTube. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I feel like we kind of associate it with an online platform. It's hard for us to just turn on the TV and like want to watch esports. Yeah, I guess that's gonna do it for today. We finished our first episode, guys. That's great.
Nice.
And we're still trying to figure out how often we're gonna do this, whether it's gonna be weekly or bi-weekly. But we're definitely gonna be putting out more episodes. Hopefully our friend Jack's gonna be joining us next week, and hope to see you guys soon.
Yeah, thanks for listening, guys.
Yep.